Welcome to the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education Competition Subgroup podcast series. I'm Dan Manson. It's my pleasure today to have with me Bill Doherty. Bill teaches computer science at the University of Nevada, Reno, and is the club advisor for one of the coolest clubs in the country, the Nevada Cyber Club. And the Nevada Cyber Club loves cybersecurity competitions. Welcome to the podcast, Bill.
My pleasure to be here, Dan.
Bill, I always want to know how people got started in cybersecurity and especially cybersecurity competitions. How did you get started?
Well, my background in cybersecurity goes way back to the prehistoric ages, when the field was really just being invented. But more to the point, the cyber competitions I learned about through some of the National Science Foundation conferences when National Cyber League was first getting put together. And I have to admit, I got involved kind of reluctantly. I was like, well, I'm not sure what this is, but let's give it a try and see how it works. So that was my exposure to it, meeting people at conferences who were putting the competitions together.
What was the first cybersecurity competition that you were involved with?
It would be National Cyber League. As I believe it was Casey O'Brien was assembling that, and I worked with Casey at CyberWatch. And I just said, well, they're trying this. I kind of like to be innovative. So I said, let's give it a try, see how it works.
When I relocated from Cal Poly Pomona to Nevada a few years ago, one of the first things that struck me, I went to the Nevada Cyber Club page and I was blown away. You do so much, you do for the community with your cyber clinics, you're involved with the governor's office, but you proudly post your stats for what you do in competitions. How did Nevada Cyber Club get it started in competitions, and why did they do it?
Well, it was a thing. Once I got into National Cyber League, it took me a while to warm up to it, but I was getting such fantastic feedback from students of how much they enjoyed it. I just really pushed it with the Cyber Club, and it really took off from there. The students just flat out really enjoy it. And just kind of the idea of being a coach and motivating students, I know they appreciate the attention. They appreciate when people in the university and the community recognize their good work. So it kind of fed on it. They took off. They did really well. We promoted it. It got more people excited, and it just kind of keeps rolling.
One of the first students I talked with when I started looking at your club was Alexander Parr, Xander. Xander is one of the best interviews I've ever done. Talk about Xander.
Xander is just an amazing problem solver. You can put just about any problem in front of him, and he's just so dedicated and so bright. He just continues to grind until he gets to the solution. And the fantastic thing about Xander is, I believe he's still working for the Department of Defense, but he keeps in touch with the Cyber Club. And during NCL, typically as the clock is winding down, some of our competitors will be posting on our private Slack group about stress that they're having, and Xander will pipe in and say, what's wrong? You guys having problems? And so he's there and he's paying attention to what the club's doing in NCL. So it's really fun.
What is it about playing in NCL and competitions in general that the students like?
I got some of the best feedback ever from a student just a couple of weeks ago. She just got a new job. She was a web developer, and she's now a cybersecurity analyst for her organization. And she said, "Thank you so much for giving me the confidence in my skills." And I think that's the thing that I'm really hearing from students. They get a lot of knowledge in the classroom, but they go out and they recognize that they can solve real and difficult problems with the things they're learning. And so I think getting the confidence, students love the challenge too. Um, so those two things seem to just really motivate them. Here's a challenge. Can you prove what you know? And it works.
Well, you teach computer science. I tell students that the most we give you in the classroom is 50% of what you need to do, and you have to devote another 50% for learning outside the classroom. And one of the ways to learn outside the classroom is the competitions. And in competitions, we can have a lot more fun with you. We can stretch you, we can throw anything we want at you because you don't have to worry about the grade. I'm sure when students take your class, it's one of the things on their mind. How do I get the grade? But competitions are a little different. Can you talk for a few minutes on what competitions can do to really supplement and stretch students beyond what you do with them in the classroom?
Well, yeah, for me, the biggest thing is, especially National Cyber League, it teaches them how to solve problems. Let's put, the workplace, life in general, you're going to have to solve difficult problems. And it gives them a chance to not just take in material and digest it, but use it and solve real problems. And the other thing, as you mentioned, the learning experience in my classroom, I often tell reluctant students, I said, enrollment in this is going to be like $35 to participate, but it's going to be a better investment than any textbook you've ever purchased. So get involved in the National Cyber League and treat it as a learning experience, and you're just going to be amazed at how much you come away with. And they have agreed with that every time, that they've just been able to learn so much outside of what any class has taught them.
One of the challenges with a cyber club is to keep it going year after year because students graduate. And when I first became involved with the cyber club, you had Adrian as the president, you had Xander, you had several really motivated students, and you have that again this year. What are some of the keys for a club to keep that going, keep that leadership, and keep that passion going?
A lot of it is the students themselves. This group is such a pleasure to work with because there are so many really motivated students. And they go out and recruit into the classroom. I try to recruit in all the classes I teach. I've found that rather than me visiting other classes, it's a lot more engaging if the students in the club themselves go out to classes and ask students to join them. And it's worked. They understand the importance, and really the competition, I think, has helped help the club with that motivation. I keep pushing them that your group is one of the top competition groups in the country. You can't just graduate and that goes away. You have to keep rebuilding, and they've taken that challenge. They're doing a great job. And then as a coach, I try to recognize the students who I think a little light bulb maybe has turned on, and I try to spend a little extra time talking with them and motivating them and getting them to engage and be leaders for the next group.
We have the NCL Power Rankings, which I think is really, really cool. Great. And one of the things it does, it really increases the competitiveness. So I know with Reno and Chico and Hawaii and a few other schools, they're so used to being in the top 10. What's it like for your students when they're playing NCL? Do they scoreboard watch? Do they want to know, well, what is Chico doing and what is Hawaii doing? And
they absolutely scoreboard watch, and they're very much watching what other schools are doing. Sometimes they're even kind of timing their submissions so that they don't tip their hand that they're getting too far ahead. So it's a huge deal. And one of the great things about our university is the CS faculty has really recognized the students' accomplishments. So they really feed on that. They, you know, when they see other faculty in the department recognizing their accomplishments, it's a big deal to them, and it's what motivates them to keep growing the club and not give up that status. So
One of the coolest things you do is you do news stories. And for me, it's like reading the sports page. And when I go to your the stories on what the Nevada Cyber Club is doing, I feel like I'm looking at the way a college promotes their football team. Is there some of that going on up there?
yeah, I mean that's a thing. I have to admit, way back in my career, I did a little bit of marketing and sales, and so to me, that's been really important for the club to get them the recognition, especially as you mentioned, NCL having the power rankings and that. Um, and I've taken the exact same approach. When the basketball team's ranked in the top 25, they get press, and I've told everyone who will listen at the university, hey, if the cyber club is in the top 10, they should get it too.
You played in a really cool and unique competition last year called Wicked Six. And what we tried to do with Wicked Six is combine cybersecurity and esports with a cause, which was a fundraiser for the Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu. Can you walk us through what the experience in Wicked Six was like? What drew you to it, and what was it like playing? What was it like being in the finals in that arena?
Oh, that whole experience was I'd have to call it almost surreal. It was a really interesting experience, and this is one where the students in the club found this competition before I did, uh, and I got an email, I think, from Bryson. He contacted me and said, we want to do this competition. Will you be our coach? And I said, of course. But the finals were just amazing. And even though the students seemed pretty subdued at the time, afterwards, I talked to them and they just loved the experience. The idea of, they were pretty excited about the hype tunnel that they walk through like the gamers do, and they come down and get introduced on stage. And the idea of being on stage in a gamers competition environment was just really fun for everybody. Um, and the other thing you didn't really mention, but there were also a lot of industry people there that were talking to students about their future plans. So everything about the event was great. They have a whole bunch of students really looking forward to the next version, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on them to make the finals.
I think the coolest photo that I saw and all the news stories on it was the one where Governor Sisolak was surrounded by you and your students. What was it like having the governor embrace you?
Oh, that was just fantastic. And again, it gets to the whole idea of the students getting recognition for the work and how that just pays off for the club. We were able to send that out as an article on the university website. We also pushed those things out to all computer science students, and they just loved it. The attention of the competitors got, and then the promotion for the club. It's like, hey, join the club. These aren't people just sitting around in a classroom doing stuff. They're out shaking the governor's hand. So it worked. It worked really well.
You've developed a relationship with the governor's office over the years. You've had cyber clinics.
Hmm.
What has it been like developing that relationship? And is that something you think other clubs could do to develop relationships with the community and with government?
It's a fantastic opportunity, and I think it's really a good idea to develop relationships with the community, not just the government. that was kind of the easier ones for us to start with. But it's really paid off because there is that relationship, and we can go back to them with new students and participate again. But even local industry, we get interest in things from local industry that engages the computer science department. And some of them look at being able to sponsor students in the cyber club competitions. So it's been a really good way to reach out to the community. So we're hoping to be able to continue that.
What are some of the goals that you have for the club in the next few years? Are there other competitions you want to target? Are there new activities you would like them to explore?
Yeah, there are. So the club is really into NCL. That's probably their favorite. The students, the other amazing thing about this, and has been really rewarding for me as a coach, is they've taken this on and run with it themselves. They're finding other competitions. I kind of want to push the collegiate cyber defense competition for them. It's more defense related, and it's been an interesting discussion. There are some students who really prefer the offensive competitions and some who are interested in the defensive competitions. So I'm interested in getting them involved in that. And those are kind of the three. I kind of want to focus them on some of the higher quality competitions, NCL, Wicked Six, CCDC, so they don't get, they have coursework to do also. Don't want to overload them, but kind of push them for the really fun ones.
You sometimes look at them as athletes.
I certainly look at them as elite competitors, that's for sure. You know, as we do the promotions and as I talk to them, I emphasize that you know, you may not be 6'10", but you're an elite a competitor in what it is you do. So I view them that way.
What would you like to see in the state of Nevada in the future? One of my goals would be to have a Nevada Cup. Is that something that you would look forward to?
So, you know, you raise a really interesting idea there. You may be aware that there is a governor's cup that the universities both compete for in athletics. And yeah, maybe we should start one for just cyber, but I think maybe with our connection for the governor, we ought to award some cybersecurity points in the governor's cup. They do have an academic category. So I think we have two goals there. We can start our own cup, and then I think we need to leverage to make it part of the whole competition between the universities.
Sometimes, you know, there are students who look on this from the outside and they say, you know, it looks so great to do, but I could never do it. Do you have any examples of some students that the Nevada Cyber Club and you were able to bring in from, you know, wondering if they could ever play in a competition or ever go down this road, but they found out how they could? Do you have some stories about people who just started from scratch?
You know, there are many of those, but my favorite really is the one that I mentioned towards the beginning of the interview, the lady who's now a cybersecurity analyst. She was in an introductory cybersecurity course, was just taking it kind of out of curiosity. And I had several discussions with her about the NCL. She said, you know, this is my first course. I just really don't know that I'm ready for this. And so the discussions I have with students is, you know, treat it as a learning experience. I think one of the things that's intimidating when we call it a competition, they want to score really well. And so I have a lot of reassuring discussions with them. Don't worry about the score. Think about what you're learning and have fun with it. And she was very hesitant in going into it, but she threw herself into it and did really well for her first competition. And so well, in fact, that when they were assembling teams, Bryson said, I don't know who this person is, but we need her on our team. And, I went back to her and I said, you realize you scored high enough that they want you on the competition team. And that was one of those breakthroughs. So I have a lot of discussions with students. Don't be intimidated. Go in, learn from it, do what you can. And most of them just have a lot of fun with it and just keep rolling. But she's my favorite example so far. So
Bill, it's a pleasure knowing you. It's a pleasure knowing your club and your students. I really look forward to staying in touch in the future and wish you the best.
thanks, Dan. I always enjoy working with you also, and I'm hoping you can get another Wicked Six together for us.
So do I. This has been the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education Competition Subgroup Podcast.